All right, it looks like we're recording. So we're here with Mothers Illuminated, where we light up the pathway to motherhood. And I'm here with Carrie Conrad today. She's a mom entrepreneur who runs her own business doing self-defense classes. I believe it's a martial arts studio. Is that right?
No.
Okay, so I'm totally
arts.
off base. Well, tell me about it then. Tell me what you do.
So I have done martial arts for many years, but after being victimized as a black belt, like normally when people are victimized, they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna go take karate." I'm like, "Well, I already did that." So,
Yeah.
That's led me on a journey to for my own personal empowerment. And I've always taught karate, but karate led to teaching self-defense. So when I teach I do teach karate, but it's not in my self-defense classes because women are not willing to use punching and kicking during the times that they need to defend themselves, which is why I love teaching karate. I teach skills that women are willing to use to defend themselves.
Yeah. And I think that's important because I know it's so easy to imagine ourselves in a John Wick movie, you know what I mean? When the time comes, but the reality is when you're in that situation, you freeze up, you get nervous, you don't feel comfortable putting yourself out there. Yeah. So what do you find? Do a lot of the people that you work with, are they victims of assault and they're now there to kind of help process it and defend themselves moving forward? Or
well, to back up just a little bit, we are taught to expect violence from a stranger. We are taught to expect people we don't know to hurt us. But the reality is women are harmed. Women and children are harmed by people that are authority figures. They're harmed by people. They have our security. So we have to choose between our physical security, our emotional security, our financial security. It's a boss. It's a doctor. It's somebody who's well known in society. It's people we know by our first name. So that's why we're not willing to punch or kick our pastor.
Right. Yeah.
We can. You can. Yeah. We don't. It's like, do you want your paycheck or do you know what I mean? So it's like, if I defend myself, now I'm unemployable because they're the owner, I'm the employee. So it's their word against, and and it's just messy and it's ugly. So that's why, even though punching and kicking, they can work in those scenarios, we're not willing to use them because it's not worth it because of how much we lose by defending ourselves.
Yeah. Now you say you were already into the karate and stuff when when you were assaulted. So kind of tell us a little bit about that journey. What got you into karate? What got you into this whole
I was forced into karate. My parents are good parents. They taught me about stranger danger. We did the flashcards. They forced me to go karate. Yep. My dad told me you can't date until you have a black belt. Bam.
Sounds like my husband and I were our kids are learning Krav Maga. They're not. I have 3 daughters, so I'm these kids got to know how to beat someone up.
But the thing is when I was raised with the mentality that nobody would ever hurt me. But what happens is you're oh, that's a nice person. They, you know what I mean? And we're putting us in a situation. So it's so do I decide that my pastor's bad? Because we have trouble with that. And this stuff it's not like violent assaults don't happen. They do. Yeah. But we're talking about coercion. We're talking about a process of grooming. We're talking about, again, we are, I don't want to use the word willing, but essentially we allow bad things to happen to us because, like I said, it's our best option. So even though I can punch and kick like nobody's business, if you know what I mean? But men, they learn self-defense. Self-defense for men is fighting. For women, self-defense is I want to be able to get out of a bad situation. I want to not get hurt. I want to be able to get my groceries in the car. I want to be able to read a label at a store without having a panic attack and feeling filled with terror. It's different. I just want to live life.
Yeah. So what do a lot of your self-defense classes look like then?
They're still physical. They're still hands-on training. I just teach skills that women are willing to use, which are skills that don't hurt the other person. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, I teach a progression. So if you need to hurt them, you can, but
Yeah.
there's so much mental, there's so much mindset. It's so much, and that's how like teaching self-defense has evolved over the years, because I've been doing this for a very long time. And I now invest more of my time teaching online, not physical skills, but the mental stuff. I teach moms how to raise their kids. I teach so that we don't have these mental blocks, because there's mental blocks and these beliefs that we don't identify danger correctly, or we're not willing to do something about it until it's too late. So the mindset and the mental part is like, I don't know. They don't call us mama bears for no reason. Like we can tear up if we need to. I don't need to teach you how to tear up. I need to teach you when and how to let go and how to prevent and how to avoid and you know, most importantly, my goal is to raise kids in a way where they're not easy to groom. Good luck. You can't groom.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So what would you say is the most important thing? So as a mom, you know, I have 3 daughters. Like I said, my oldest is 5. So my kids are very young. Now, my kids understand like private parts. Like we're very, very, like I teach them everything. So it's like they know proper anatomy. They know their private parts. They know that people shouldn't be touching it. They know they deserve privacy and consent. They know that, you know, if somebody does do something that makes them uncomfortable, they have to talk to mommy and daddy, and that there's nothing that person can threaten that mommy and daddy can't handle, you know. And we're very cautious about who we like leave them with, and, you know, looking for some of those signs of grooming. If someone's like disproportionately interested in your children, or, you know, giving them gifts, or, you know, kind of spending more attention with them than what's kind of normal, you know. So what are some of the things that you kind of look for, you know, to kind of teach your moms, like things to look out for, things to teach your kids?
This sounds really, really terrible, but I pretty much just undo all of this stuff that you just talked about. And it's not like any of that stuff is bad, because it's accurate. However, when you are looking for a specific symptom, you're in trouble, because like I said, we'll rationalize, deny, or we'll falsely accuse people. We live in a state where it's like, I can't trust anybody. I won't leave my kids with anybody. I live in fear. Like I said, when harm comes at the hands of our friends, great. Now I'm afraid of all my friends. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, there is terror. We live, so like, one of the things that I try to do is, because this is my journey. So yeah, I'm like, to be frank, this badass, okay? And then I find out that I'll let people hurt me in certain circumstances. But like I said, I didn't see it like that. I didn't even call it that. I wouldn't have used the word assault. I would never have used that word until later on. Later on, it was like, oh my gosh, I let that happen to me. And it's like, you don't realize what it is until you're looking back, and it's something that where there's shame and guilt, and you know, that's when I rewrite the narrative. That's when I feel safe to say, hey, something's wrong. And it's like I said, harm comes from our relationships more often than it does from strangers. And it's so hard, because I've decided that person is trusted. I've decided I'm uncooperative. I've decided I'm difficult. You know what I mean? And it's like, no, that's not the story. Like, what does entrepreneurship look like with children?
We'll get into all that, I promise.
so what I want to do is, I want to help moms come from, like, I think I'm going to wear mama bear. I'm like, no, I'm informed. I'm going to teach my kids. And when I had girls, by the way, I have 3 girls, but when I had the first one, and she has like extra needs, and she's just the most social friendly person I've ever met in my life. And you know, she taught me that strangers are just friends we haven't met yet. You know what I mean? And it's like, and here I am, I'm like, stranger danger. You know what I mean? And it doesn't work. And it turns out, like, in this journey of trying to teach my children how to live safely, that's how I was able to see how the women I've worked with have been victimized. It was like, get out of here. We're setting our kids up. Like I said, my
Yeah.
parents taught me stranger danger. They did flashcards, they did karate, they did all the things that parents are supposed to do. They did it
Yeah.
all. And yet, you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
it's in knowing what I know and having the background that I have and the expertise that I have, trying to teach my own kids and living in a state of, oh my gosh, everybody wants to hurt my kids. I thought I was an aware mama bear ready to throw down when needed. But really, you know, today I try and shift moms into like, are you an aware mama bear or are you a worry warrior? Are you constantly in a state
Yeah.
of worry, living in fight or flight, not allowing yourself to enjoy relationships, depriving your children of connection and you know, like
Yeah.
which one? Because I swore I was like,
You know, it's funny because now that you're saying that, it makes sense because it's like, in one way, you're normalizing the behavior by making them so hyper aware of it, you know? And if they're having good relationships and then all of a sudden something feels icky, they're more likely to kind of reach out to you about it, I'm thinking, versus being constantly told people are evil, like stranger danger, be careful, all those things, which in a way sort of normalizes it. So when something feels icky, they say, oh, well, at least it's not that, you know? And I think kind of like what you're saying, where people, they kind of like to compare lots of different situations and say, what's something that's truly worth bringing up versus what's something that's just making me not feel very good, because like you said, a lot of women, they're victimized in different ways. It might not be a physical and violent assault. It could be coercion. It could be, someone just pressing boundaries and not letting up, and just being able to know and have that confidence of like, that's not okay. And we know that because we have so many good relationships that we have to base that off of. Is
yeah,
that kind of along the
most
lines?
most women who are trafficked have no idea.
Hmm.
They don't know that they're being trafficked. They don't call it that.
Yeah.
They don't call it that.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why it really comes down to being very careful about how we perceive things,
Mhm.
and that's what I do, is I spend my time and effort making sure that we look at things from the right angle, because those same tools that you're using to prepare your kids, the people looking to take advantage of your kids are looking at those same tools too, and I promise you,
Yeah.
they're putting more effort into being ahead of the game than you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and I don't say that because I want people to live in terror. I
Yeah,
say
of course.
that
Yeah.
because this hyper vigilant, over prepared, and it's like all we're doing is passing anxiety onto our kids. Our kids are
Mhm.
raised anxious, not willing to trust people, unwilling to connect. They don't feel safe in their relationships. They don't trust themselves. That's the
Mhm.
biggest one. We're raising our children not to trust themselves.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and so this is, and then like now that there's more headlines in social media, we have
Mhm.
more, you know, we're more aware. Like there are things that happen today that have always happened over time. The difference is everybody has phones and they're texting everybody, and you know, so we're constantly in terror, and our kids are in terror. Like I said, we have so
Yeah.
many kids, and then now you're into like coping. How do you cope with that? Well,
Oh. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So here's what we're going to do because I've got babies crying in the background. I'm going to go ahead and put this on a quick pause. I'm going to go take care of that. Should only be a couple minutes. When I come back, we'll talk about your mom entrepreneur journey and kind of what that looks like and what a day-to-day looks like for you.
all right, fantastic.
All right. Sorry about that. So I
No
was gonna say,
worries.
I'm not even gonna edit it out because I want people to know like the reality of what mom entrepreneur looks like. And sometimes this is what it looks like. So
Absolutely.
so tell me a little bit about that journey into kind of what made you kind of go down this path. Like you said, you grew up with a family that was very gung-ho about a lot of this. They made you get into karate. So what was kind of that pivotal turning point where you wanted to get into, the actual self-defense piece of it?
I actually didn't mean to. One of my karate students taught self-defense, and they were like, "Hey, you should teach a class with me," and because they needed another person, and I thought, well, why not? And then my first marriage, I turned into a single mom overnight, and I needed to do something, so I started 3 businesses. I couldn't not teach karate. I couldn't not do that. It's a passion of mine that I've always had, and I love empowering people. And so the only way I could afford to do it if I was getting paid better for my time. So that was one of 3 businesses. I did a couple other businesses too, and I literally worked around the clock to meet this stuff. And every time I needed to get like a new client for one of my other businesses, I just put more into the self-defense, because I kept seeing friends over the years and they're like, look what I learned in the self-defense class. And I'm like, that's terrible. It doesn't work. You're gonna, you know what I mean? Like, who taught that to you? And how much did you pay to learn this? And when I found that people are paying to learn stuff, and they're learning from people who don't know what they're talking about. And that's one thing that I can say that I got out of all those years in, learning karate, is there were a couple guys. One, I learned a lot about karate. Just because it works in the dojo, it doesn't mean it works in the real world.
Right. Yeah.
And, and I'm very grateful that I had a couple men in my life that just beat me up. They did not let me think that I got it, because what happens in a dojo is like the person that you're up against, they know what the technique is supposed to do. Right?
Yeah.
They respond like they're supposed to. And that's great. But in the real world, it doesn't work like that.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It does not work like that. So I'm, like I said, out of all the years of all the training that I did, there are 2 men, only 2 out of lots that they did not let me. They refused to let me think that I knew things that I didn't. And I'm so grateful, because that's how I learned like what works and what doesn't work. There's a lot of stuff that sounds great in theory. I'll tell you, 90% of videos, probably 95% of videos that you watch for self-defense stuff, it's trash. It doesn't work. It looks good. YouTube is not the place to be learning safety, because you have people who aren't qualified. They're not qualified to be teaching it, but they're well-meaning. They learned it. And so they want to teach others because they want people to be safe. They come from a good place, but the reality is do they know whether or not it works? And most people don't. Most people, they don't have the real life experience to say, oh yeah, it worked, or oh, it didn't work, or dojo experience, not the same.
Yeah. And it's true, like what you were saying, it's, when you're kind of working with someone who, like you said, they know the technique, they know like they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, but like, come on, how, like, that's not going to happen in the real world. The real world, someone's going to do something different, and you're going to be like, oh, I don't know what to do with this. I wasn't trained on how to respond to this activity. What do I do?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now that you've gotten to that point, right, you have this self-defense studio. You've got kids. How many kids do you have?
3. I have 3 girls.
You have 3 girls. Okay. And what are their ages? So just to kind of give an idea.
12, 4, and 3.
Yeah. Aw. Those are great ages. Yeah. And then, So what's a day-to-day look like? I mean, do they come with you to the studio? Do they stay somewhere
don't-
else? How do you do
I don't
it?
have a studio. I don't have a studio.
Okay.
Like I said, I do a lot of online coaching. I coach moms on how to feel safe with like mass shootings. I coach moms because what happened is over the years, I just got more and more certifications. So not only, you know, a black belt is just where I started. I didn't even mean to bring that to the table, but in that, I've taken bodyguard training. I'm certified in weapons. I'm a private investigator. Like I just kept going and kept growing. And I've always taken these classes so that I could better help moms protect their kids because we are bodyguards. I don't care what anybody tells you.
Yeah.
If you have children, you know more about bodyguard training than a lot of people. Like you just know. So here's how we can do it better, right? So I don't have a studio. I do online coaching. I bring like the business brings self-defense training to people. So I travel to bring training.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep. It really is because most people enjoy, like private classes are better. They really are because you take a class with people who share lifestyles, they share values, they share so that you can have a class that's really tailored to your life and what that looks like rather than a class with a mixed bag where you have people with, you know, their experiences, you don't relate to them and they don't relate to yours.
Yeah.
So you get more focused time. I really prefer that. So what a day looks like is routine is not negotiable. We have a rhythm. So on the same day of the week, we do the same thing. We do the same chores on the same day of the week. And so if you missed mop it Monday, well, guess what? We'll do it next Monday. You know, it's like, so I don't have to like panic and say, oh, it's never going to get done. It's like, listen, it'll get done, you know?
Yeah.
And with 3 kids and running a business and learning and constantly reading and like prioritizing self-care because I can't do any of this if I'm not taking care of myself. Like that's number one. So like today, Wednesdays, I schedule my work stuff. So it's like, be prepared. We stay home on Wednesdays. This is when I do recordings. This is when I do stuff like this. I just have blocks. So I have blocks of time that are just not negotiable. And I might not do the exact work I plan to do in that block of that time, but there are blocks of time where I'm sitting at a computer. There are blocks of time that I'm out giving training. I have other instructors that train. And I'm certifying instructors today. I get to certify people to train, which is insanity to me. I get to certify, like social workers and therapists and like content that I've created for raising kids to be difficult to groom. So like I said, everything has its blocks of windows and I just live by those blocks. And if it's like, oh, you botched the block. Yeah, well, there will be another one. So, you know, we don't have time for guilt. We don't have time for looking back. Like you just, you know, and then it's just really important to like constantly remind myself, like, what are my values? Because when I'm not living in alignment with my values, I'm not successful. It just doesn't work.
Yeah. I find that to be the case with a lot of mom entrepreneurs. I think that's a really common thing, which is trying to find those values so that you can, I think, like, when we're raising, especially with children, right, our time is so limited. And so I think it can be really damaging to the soul, honestly, when you're doing work that's not in alignment with your values, because your time, as this is going to sound horrible, and I don't mean to like oppress men or anything, but our time is so much more valuable because we could be taking care of our children, right? And so, like, at least for me, when I look at that, it's like whatever task I'm doing has to be more important than taking care of my kids right now, you know? And in most cases, that's just not the case, right? It's like, that's like, this is something I totally don't care to do because I could be spending it with my kids. Yeah. And so I think, like, for me, at least, when we're kind of juggling that, like, you know, I've got 4 kids. They're literally right behind me running around playing. And I've got a 5-year-old, 3-year-old, 17-month-old, and a 3-month-old.
Oh my gosh.
And they're amazing. And if it was up to me, I'd spend every waking moment with them, you know, but when you have goals and you've got dreams and ambitions, it makes it so much easier to work towards those, to put your family in a better situation when what you're doing aligns with the things that you think are important and bringing value to the world, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah. We unschool. So that means my kids are with me. I have one who chose, she wanted to go do Montessori, so she's Montessoriing it up.
Yeah.
But
I love it.
Yeah, but connection is number one. Self-care. You know what I mean? Like I have to take care of myself so that I can be available to connect with you, be available to connect with my kids. Like just that. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I don't want to say like I don't hustle, but the thing is I only hustle in the moments that are hustle moments. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it has its time and its place.
Yes. I love it.
I need a couple more minutes. So
and I completely agree. And this is like, so I coach moms on how to make more, make money at home pretty much. And that's one of the highest skill sets that we really focus on is like high leverage activities, right? So what are things that I can do that actually move the goalpost forward? Because, we could sit there and spend all day doing stuff that doesn't really matter, but I could be spending that time with my kids. So why would I, right? And so, as moms, it's like we have to be hyper focused, like you said, on doing the things that are super important, make the time to do them, execute them, get them done, but then also be there with our kids because, nobody can replace mom. So
so like I said, all of this started a long time ago because of needing to support myself and my daughter. And so my goal the entire time for this business was to create opportunities for moms to get paid spending time with their kids. And that's what I get to do. That's what I'm launching right now. And I love it. I'm so grateful. Because this is all online content. So I get like, I needed to make money while I was at the carnival with my daughter. And I did. Right, granted, like back then I did it while I was scheduling appointments for somebody else, but it's like, I wanted that because like you talked about, dude, this kid is relying on me. She's got nobody else. Right. Like if I'm not providing her with a good time, if we're not going to the zoo, nobody else is taking her. So and I need to be making money while I'm doing it because at that time I couldn't afford not to. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm very grateful for the journey. I'm very grateful for all the struggle that I had, even though today I know the struggle wasn't necessary. It was like self-imposed. It was a self-imposed struggle, but like it takes what it takes. It teaches
you, right? But it teaches you like having that realization of, oh, this was self-imposed sets you up to not, self-sabotage in the future. It's all a lesson, right?
Well, I mean, maybe you've evolved beyond where I'm at. I just find I'm like, gosh darn it, I'm doing it here instead. And it's like, or maybe not instead. It's not instead. It's also, it's like, wow, this same sabotage has been in every area of my life and I've cleaned up all these different areas. And it's like, as soon as I get to the point where I'm like, oh, this is so good to not have that problem. Like, I'm so grateful to have grown so much. And then you look and you're like, and then there's a new one right there. I never looked at it like that. I never saw that I'm sabotaging here too. Never saw it.
It's always an evolving journey, obviously. You always get to a point where it's like, oh my gosh, this little tidbit's now here. And you have to reevaluate again. And one of the things that I've learned is just taking that moment of really being the difference between reactive and responsive, right? So it's like when things come up, just taking that moment of like pause, think about it. Where have I seen this before? What's going on here? And really thinking about it before actually doing something or having a reaction about it. And I found that to be super helpful. And just constantly, I've also learned that when I find things that come up, a lot of times I try to look for it in all the different areas of our lives. So it's like, oh, I'm doing this. I know this is an innate person, like part of either my personality or who I am or whatever trauma I might have had in my childhood or whatever, where else am I seeing this manifest? And that way it's just like, nip it at the bud, nip it, become aware. You're not always going to be at 100%, right? Like nobody's 100%, but the more that you can do to kind of figure out like, this is where I saw this, this is where I saw this. These are like the different triggers that come up. And, I really take a lot of time on like focusing on myself because when you focus on yourself and your healing, that's when you can get to like that next level. You know, that's when things start to change. That's when you unlock more productivity. You unlock closer connections with people. And so that's like, I always feel like I'm on a lifelong journey to keep unlocking the next part of myself, you know, but I think that's what it is for everybody, you know.
I think everybody lives that way. I think there's a certain type of people, but you know, and I value growth. I value all of that, but I also came to the point where I realized that if I'm always looking for something to work on, I'm going to find it. When am I going to be ready to just enjoy how great things are? And it's not like I didn't do that before, but you know, that hyper focus, like I get to choose where I focus. So like the strategy that I've been using lately is I focus on the joy, the gratitude, the enjoyment, the connection, all of that warm and fuzzy stuff. I'm focusing there until there is something that is until there is something that is so defined that I can, so, and that's actually why I didn't realize about our appointment today. Cause I was like, okay, today is the day. Like I'm in the process of purging some things. And I was like, that's what I'm doing today. So I missed that we were scheduled, you know?
No, it's okay.
So I'm so grateful for grace, but that's the thing. It's like I bring grace into my life and I'm extended grace and my best is enough. And I just don't have time. If an opportunity didn't work out, then it's not supposed to work out. Just keep moving forward. Just keep moving forward. I don't have time because if I'm like, oh, I screwed that up. Oh, I'm so bad. Oh, it's like, no, like you said, I'm taking that away from my kids. That's time I could be with my kids, but I'm in my head. And it's like, I'm just for this stuff. I don't have time.
No, it's absolutely. It's that balance of like self-improvement and then being grateful for where you're at and loving yourself and all of those things. And you know, and for me personally, it's like finding out how to have joy in that journey, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, you're continually self-improving, but at the same time, you're able to find joy, find grace, find mercy. You know, personally, I'm a Christian, that helps out a lot. But just kind of finding that joy in that journey has been huge for me and like really game changing because like you said, it's like you're not doing anybody any favors by sitting around and feeling bad for yourself, right?
Yeah.
So, and then so how do you think mom entrepreneurship has affected your children?
So my mom worked out of the home growing up. So I get the opportunity to try to do different. You know what I mean? Like, and the real, like for real though, like I need to ask my kids how they feel about that. Cause there's how I think I'm doing. And then there's how my kids think I'm doing. And am I doing it for me or am I doing it for them? Because if it's really to serve them, I might want to ask them for input.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And then people are like, oh, but they're so young. It's like, oh, trust me, young people have input too. And by the way, like the little people, they have the best input because they don't have the life
baggage,
negativity. You know what I mean? They don't have life lessons in there. You know, it's just straight, pure, you know, you get, well, why can't you play? And it's like, well, but a good question. You know what I mean? Why can't I play? Like, that's the good stuff.
Right.
I kind of lost focus on that one. Just thinking of my kids and where I get to do better. I can do better there. Asking for input.
Yeah, I think we all can. You know, and I try to get as much input as I can from my kids. But you know, like you said, it's like we're all just doing our best. It's you know, it's okay to fall a little short sometimes.
And that's what I hope. That's my goal for my kids is like, you can do whatever you want. You can get paid for what brings you joy. You know, like you are responsible, like you have control over your experiences. You don't have control over how things go, but you can control whether or not you're having a good time. Like,
right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you have control over your attitude. You have control over what you contribute. There's so much where we do have control. And as long as we're maximizing our use of that, then the things that we can't control are like, that sucks, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Just keep moving forward.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. But
I would definitely say raising 3 girls has 4. It's like, listen, I'm setting the precedent here. You know what I mean? Like there are 3 lives. There are 3 lives that are going to be, it's like, I have to do better. I have to do better because they deserve better. And, and I'm really grateful for that because I've definitely been willing to take risks that I don't think I would have. Like I said, the only reason why I became self-employed, it's not because I thought I could. It's not because it's not that it wasn't what I wanted. It was, but I don't know if I ever would have took the leap, except I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't have a choice. And it was like, okay, they're like, I'm responsible. There's nobody helping me. And it's like, I can't, you know, at that time, like she was a toddler and I couldn't get care for her. Like she just had needs that weren't easily met by others. And I couldn't find people who were able to meet those needs. And like I said, it was forced. I was forced into entrepreneurship, and I couldn't be more grateful.
Yeah, I think a lot of moms end up in that situation too, because it's like you said, it's like either they have, you know, a child with higher needs than typical, or maybe they can't afford daycare. Maybe it's a situation of, hey, if I go back to work and work for a company, you know, they're going to pay me less than what daycare would cost, or, you know, there's so many different things that I think moms in specific kind of come across where, you know, having to make the choice of what do I do to make more money because we need more money. I think a lot of moms are thrown into entrepreneurship. And I think that's kind of what's amazing about the whole mompreneur thing that's going on is so many moms are being forced into this, but they're finding a way to make it work in such a way that it's just transforming their families' lives, you know?
Yeah.
Like, did you ever think that you'd be able to raise 3 young children, you know, doing your own thing and making your own schedule and, you know, doing things that you love? Like, that's amazing. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of mom entrepreneurs out there that are living similar lives. And there's a lot of moms that are looking at this and saying, how do I get there? You know? So if you were to talk to those moms, what's the advice that you would give them?
Oh my gosh, I can't same thing with my work, right? So with my work, it's like really about our beliefs about our safety, our beliefs about our relationships, dude, it's the same thing with success. What are my beliefs around my success? Do I believe I have to pick one or the other? Do I believe that I have to choose an income or my children? Because I'm a mom, I'm going to choose my kids.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what this comes down to. It's like, I am living my beliefs. So what does that tell me about my beliefs? Like, write down what things look like. What do I believe? Look around. That's what you believe. I can tell you.
I love that. Yeah.
I can tell you one thing I need to come to believe. I need to come to believe that I can have a clean house too. I'll tell you what. That's the bottom. And I'm looking around and I'm like, hey, I can fix this. And it's not about like hustling more. It's not about doing more. It's about like, what prevents me from out? What are my beliefs around clean? And it's like, and for me, it has to do with relationships. I believe that you can't like keep a clean house and be nice to people. I just have to, and I choose being nice to people. I choose being nice. I choose being nice.
Yeah.
You know? I choose being nice. And it was like, and it comes down to when I was like, I got my first vehicle and I had a friend and we all went and got coffees and, you know, there's half doors on a truck and they close the half door and they're my brand new truck, brand new. Okay. Her coffee goes all over my brand new, like the new car smell. Like, I mean, I haven't even had it a week and there is Starbucks. Over. And it's like, and I don't know what you choose, but at that time in my life when I was young, I picked the truck. I'm not taking my friends anywhere anymore. You know what I mean?
So like you're on your own now.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
So I did. There was a time in my life where I chose things and stuff over my relationships. And as I got older, I'm like, no, man, I'd rather have relationships. And that's what it is. Those beliefs. Those beliefs determine. And it's like, if I want a clean house, I need to come to believe that I can be kind to my kids and have a clean house. That I can hold people accountable and not be nasty. You know, like I just, and again, it's the skills come, the opportunities come, the experience comes. It starts off with what do I believe? What do I think it means if I have a clean house? Then it means you're anal retentive. Oh, I don't want to be anal retentive. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I got to look at what these things mean to me and fix, like, I don't say fix it because I don't fix it. I just look at it and I go, that's ridiculous. And I'd be like, oh, that's so sad, or that's so yucky. Ew. You know, like anal retentive. No, you could just I don't know, like having a clean house. You don't have to be anal retentive. It's like no, if you have a clean house, then it's void of love. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
What?
I know, I hear that one a lot too. It's like lived in home, it's like, why can't you live in a home that's also clean, right? Yeah.
I've not arrived yet. I have not arrived.
Well, I was going to say that's actually a personal journey of mine right now, is trying to figure out, because when I look at my life, it's like, what comes first? Like you said, the kids, right? So it's like kids come first, their education. We homeschool as well.
Nice.
So, their education, then my work. And then, after that is kind of like the house stuff.
Yeah.
And so we have a strict, we actually kind of live very similarly. I have time blocks on my schedule. These are the times that I do my work tasks. These are the times that I'm taking care of kids and doing family tasks. These are the times that we're doing household chores. And we've actually finally come to a system that does pretty well, but it still feels like work. You know what I mean? Like we haven't quite gotten into the making it as seamless. We'll get there soon.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's just a journey. Yep.
Yeah. But I love that what you were saying about that beliefs, where it's like what you live is what you believe. I've never heard that before, and that is just so profound. It's so true,
It's not original.
Yeah. I'm just saying it's not. I've never heard that before, but that is so true. I love that. Yeah.
In a lot of books about success and mindset, like I said, I just knew it applied to safety.
Yeah.
I knew it applied to my relationships. I knew it applied to how people treat me in relationships. I knew that. Like I said, I know my industry. And then it's like, oh, wait a second. It affects this too. It turns out my relationship with food, that was another one. Beliefs around food were stupid. It's just like raw, it's just, you just keep going down the line. Just keep going down the line.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, if someone's, if someone's trying to get a hold of you, they want to, watch your content, they want to schedule a self-defense session with you, or they just want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that? Where can they find you?
beatingdisaster.com. So just like it says on the screen, beating disaster. And I chose that name. It's a brown belt technique for the system. For karate, it's a favorite because it's versatile. It is versatile. Not only that, it can mean two things. There are women who I help avoid disaster, and that's how they beat disaster. And then there are women who want to beat the ever-loving you-know-what out of it, and I'm happy to help you with that too. So
yeah. Love it. Love it. I will make sure we have the links in the comments and everything like that. So thank you so much for being on the show today. It was awesome, Carrie. And, hopefully we'll have you on again soon, because I feel like there's so much more we could be talking about. But
I'd love it.
But thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right. You have a fantastic day. Thank you, and stay safe.
Thanks. You too.